Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today I have Amanda Schley on the phone, and she is the founding partner of Business Law Group. Amanda, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Adam.
All right, Amanda, so big topic today. A lot of business owners and entrepreneurs and executives listen to this, and I understand your firm has a unique specialty, in my opinion, and that's really helping companies and organizations build a strong legal foundation to prepare for an eventual liquidity event. So I'm excited to get your take on this, but before we do, I'd like to start this episode the way that we start them all with our Mission Matters Minute. So, Amanda, we at Mission Matters, we amplify stories for entrepreneurs, executives, and experts. That's our mission. Amanda, what mission matters to you?
At Business Law Group, our ultimate mission is to help our clients experience a liquidity event. A liquidity event is it's the event that happens when you sell your business and you unlock all of the investment and the hard work that you've put into your business. And it typically results in a substantial wealth event for you. That's why we call it the liquidity event. But before a liquidity event can happen for our clients, we really have to make sure that the business is on solid legal footing. And so we're making sure that all of the contracts are in place and valid and proper. All of the employee matters have been properly taken care of, all of the accounting and tax business matters. And all of those things have to be in order for a business owner to experience a liquidity event. And so that's what we're focused on. We're focused on getting clients to that eventual sale date.
That's awesome. Great having you on the show and really to get your perspective on this. But I'm curious, so how did you get really started on this path? So a lot of things you can do, right, as a lawyer and with a firm. Like what warmed you up to this market?
I mean, I think that the reason that I am so drawn to representing entrepreneurs is that I just have the entrepreneurial bug myself.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to own my own business, and ultimately in going to law school, I worked at a large law firm and realized, that was great for learning the ropes, but in order to really be kind of the authentic attorney that I was looking to be, it was to be an entrepreneur myself, so that when I advised entrepreneurs, I actually had some sort of idea of what they were dealing with. So that's kind of how I ended up opening my own firm.
So I'd like to tackle this topic maybe from two different angles, because I know they're going to be really, and maybe I'm wrong. I shouldn't say I know, but I feel like there's probably the person that's just starting a business that's getting like ramped up pretty quickly, and maybe they didn't set everything up correctly in the first place because maybe they didn't know if it was going to succeed, or they just didn't know, right? Like then all of a sudden they have this business that grew, and they're like, whoa. So I wanted to start there maybe, and then kind of work into that more established business that might have even been inherited, or that it's been there for a long time, and now there a lot of transfer of wealth going on, obviously with baby boomers aging. So I feel like that might be a whole different set.
Sure.
So I guess starting on the first side of things, for that business that just maybe wasn't set up all that well, and it ended up being a very successful business. Like where does that type of company even start? And I know everybody's going to be different, but I'm just thinking about like, where do they even start with something like that? They're like, they finally have it in their view, like, okay, we might want to exit at some point in life. Where do we start?
Right. So typically, we will get a call from a client who has found product market fit, meaning they've gotten to a place where their business idea is working and the business is generating substantial revenue. But oftentimes, something has gone awry. They will have gotten a demand from their employee. They will have been sued by a vendor or possibly a customer. And so when, like many entrepreneurs are, we often rush to set up a business once things start hitting and they're growing, they don't have necessarily a lot of time to spend on making sure everything has been properly papered. And so oftentimes we hear from them in a legal crisis where, they've been sued or they've been audited, something has happened. It's way better for that type of a client to come to us prior to the lawsuit. And so the better way to help clients kind of navigate once they have established product market fit is for them to realize, like, I've got an investment here that's worth protecting, and I need to make sure that how I've been operating is in compliance with law. And maybe they've been I'm sure they've been filing the company's tax returns. I mean, maybe they haven't. That certainly happens sometimes. But they've been working with a CPA, and they're used to that because every year they have to file a tax return. But they haven't necessarily been working with a lawyer from the beginning because, most entrepreneurs are very, I guess I would call it DIY. They love to do everything themselves. They think that, I'll just figure it out all on my own. That's how I've gotten here, and that's what they end up doing. I really urge clients at that stage to rethink that approach because at some point it's no longer to your benefit to be doing everything yourself. You really should be looking to experts in your field or that have an understanding of your business to make sure that how you are operating is not going to it's not going to cause a substantial legal hardship. And typically, we'll get a call from a client at this stage, and instead of, having a nightmare legal bill as a result of us having to answer a lawsuit or, get involved with an audit, instead what we do is sit down with the client and kind of do an inventory of all of their legal documentation. How are they formed? How are they set up? What are their material contracts that they have in place, and how did they get them? How did they review them? How are they being taxed? What is the agreement between the business owners, the partners of the business, and is that documented properly? Or did they just pull a form off the Internet? So those are the types of things that we will go through with a business that has started to show some real promise, and the owners are really looking to start protecting the business. Trademarks and intellectual property is another biggie that are really important for those kind of growth stage companies to be thinking about. And then the second way that we will get involved with the client, unfortunately, will be through some sort of disaster, some legal event that happens in which they are, they're having an emergency. And emergencies are very, very expensive. I mean, it's important to understand that if you get involved or your company gets involved in litigation these days, the average cost of litigation is going to be somewhere between $75,000 and $100,000. And so most businesses simply cannot afford that type of event. And instead of a liquidity event, that person or that business is probably looking at shuttering and closing its doors. And so ultimately, we are really hoping to poise the client for a positive outcome and to avoid these negative legal consequences that happen when you haven't dotted your I's and crossed your T's.
So I want to jump around a bit here. So taking the other scenario that I mentioned, so legacy business. So maybe you're inheriting the company, you're looking at the next generation. Maybe your kids don't maybe want the company, they're not going to, and now you're going in there kind of almost like a forensic individual and trying to figure things out so that they're maximizing value on maybe what they can actually get for that company. What does that look like?
Generational businesses are super interesting, and so just like families, they're so complicated. Oftentimes Generation 1 has built a hugely successful business, and that success has trickled down to their children, and then their children have probably continued to grow the business, and then that wealth and that experience, or that the wealth really trickles down to the third generation. It's about Generation 3 and Generation 4 where almost inevitably we are going to have a pretty serious meltdown of the business. And that's due to a number of factors. First of all, the legal documents simply aren't usually in place as they should be. We call this succession planning. If you've ever seen the HBO hit Succession, this really is putting together a plan to hand off your business from Generation 1 to Generation 2, or maybe not even Generation 2, but maybe it's Generation 1 to Generation 3. And without a written plan in place and without the proper operating agreement or shareholders agreement or buy-sell agreement in place, that succession planning is often left just by way of a will or by way of some sort of estate planning documents. And those simply are not strong enough documents to provide for the operations of the company. It doesn't teach Generation 3 or even Generation 2 the best way to operate and manage the business that has been done so far. And so that's really where we see kind of a situation where either Generation 1 and Generation 3 get into some dispute. There's a dispute between children and parents, brothers and sisters, and you can imagine the family dynamics just go crazy. And if we haven't dealt with it properly in the operating agreement, in the shareholders agreement, in the buy-sell agreement, in those documents, then we're just kind of usually dealing with some sort of, and this happens all the time, a family will approach me and I'll say, okay, where are the bylaws of the company? And the bylaws will have been something that was done in 1954 or 1955, and they simply don't address all of the things that we would address in today's bylaws or in today's operating agreements. And so, it is really a kind thing to leave your children a business. It's even kinder if you leave them a business that has been properly papered, to make sure that all of the legal agreements are in place where you think through with a lawyer, how do I want this to go to my kids, and who do I want to be in charge of this? Are we just looking to have the kids take the money from the business? Are they just taking the profit? Or are they going to be actively involved in the operations? And if they are, how are we going to decide who is in charge? Is there one person in charge? Are we doing this by a majority vote? Does it require more than a majority vote? All of those things have to be thought of on the front end, and you want to really think through those in context of the family that you're dealing with, and not just by downloading some random form of operating agreement off the internet, which is all too often what I'm dealing with clients. They have DIY'd it themselves, and they really have put together pretty much one of the worst deals that they could do for themselves because they just didn't invest the money into sitting down and talking through the issues with a lawyer.
Yeah, it makes total sense, and I think like one of the key themes here is that it's going to cost you more down the line if you don't take that preventive medicine. So just like health, if you don't eat right, if you don't
it's
you don't
the perfect
do the things
analogy.
that you should be doing, then
yeah.
It's going to be, even health care, I guess you could say, it's going to be way more expensive potentially down the line, right?
It's the best analogy, and I always try to explain it to clients in that way, and it makes sense to them, and yet again, healthcare is one of those things, even for ourselves, that we don't always do for whatever reason.
Yeah, no, that's good. So that being said, Amanda, I know we can go into this, and we didn't get to go into the kind of some of the nuances of what business owners should be doing, but we're about out of time for this episode. So if somebody does want to follow up and they want to learn more and they want to connect with you and your team, what's the best way for them to do that?
The best way to get in touch with us is really online. Our website is www.lawgroup.biz. That's LAWGROUP.biz. biz as in business. And you can come onto our website. You can book an initial legal consult with us where we will sit down and kind of go through what your business, whatever the issue is that your business is experiencing or whatever it is that you're looking to accomplish in your biz. And, that's the best way. My email address is abutler@lawgroup.biz, and that can be found online as well.
Wonderful. And we'll put all that information in the show notes so that our audience can just click on the link and head right on over and check out your site. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters or engaging with the platform, we're all about bringing on entrepreneurs, executives, and experts and having them share their mission, why they do what they do, how they're doing it, and really what we can all learn from that and how we can all grow together. If that's the type of content that sounds interesting or fun or motivational to you, then hit that subscribe button, because we have many, many more mission-based individuals coming up on the line. We don't want you to miss a thing. And Amanda, really, it has been a pleasure. Thanks again for coming on the show.
Thanks, Adam. Have a good one.